Okay, we'll get started with the Planning and Zoning Commission pre-meeting for February 4th, 2025. And all members are present with the exception of Commissioner Gonzalez. So we'll go ahead and get started. Go through the agenda. Now, one thing that was brought up to me on the minutes, which I didn't even catch, but it's been corrected, where Trish was excused, but they also had it on the draft part where she was here and excused. So that's why I didn't catch it, but
Places at once.
you are talented, but it is fixed. So if you guys noticed that, which I did not, so it's been fixed. So any questions about the agenda or the minutes? Okay. First up on the agenda is public hearings with final action by Planning Commission for the Wasatch Electric, which is on 9,000 South, 6,800 West, and it looks like Taylor, you're up.
And thank you, Chair. This will be very similar to what you saw at the last meeting where you considered the rezone the MDP. That was approved by the City Council last Tuesday. So with that zoning now in place, we're seeking approval of the preliminary plat and site plan. Preliminary plat will be for 2 lots and 1 remainder parcel. And the site plan is taking the bigger of those 2 lots for the Wasatch Electric headquarters. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
I'm not going to ask this during the meeting because it doesn't really bear on it, but it's more of a curiosity. There's a exclusive water line easement, which kudos for getting exclusivity on that. But it looks like it runs right down where that future public road is. It was on the plat map or in the drawings.
Yeah, so this road where it's gone by a couple different names, 6,700 West, 6,800 Jones Brother. I think it's called Jones Mountain Way now. It's had a number of different names. It is on the edge of a pressure boundary. And so rather than require them to build the main line down that road, which with the dead end, our utilities department has just got secured an easement for that. And then they'll be building a loop system which connects to the existing pressure zone that they want to be in. So that's kind of what you're seeing there.
No, I think it's great. It's interesting to me that it's the exclusive, especially where there's a future public road there. In my experience, public road just invites uses from every utility under the sun. So good luck policing it and keeping them out. But like I said, it has 0 bearing. So it was more just a curiosity.
Any other questions? Okay, next is public hearings with Planning Commission recommendations to the City Council for final action. And this is the Oker Highlands annexation, which approximately 5,900 West, 6,400 or 6,600 South. And it looks like Larry.
Yep. And I think this came to the Planning Commission in January, or maybe December. Recommendation. I can't remember, Duncan, what the Planning Commission was doing with it at that point, but
this one hasn't gone to the Planning Commission yet. The other one was the Copper Meadows.
so,
Oh,
yeah. And so anyway, it was the Planning Commission may or may not be aware, this area, and as you can see, is just east of Mount View corridor and then west of the power corridor, and then Cedar Hill Road, which is adjacent to West Valley City, was petitioned to be annexed into West Jordan City. Vast majority of the people that live there already believe they live in West Jordan, and so, but it has taken a little while, and this is kind of a result of a agreement the city made with the county when we annexed the Wood Ranch or some of the Wood Ranch development, the 160 acres or so into the Wood Ranch development. And there is some property as you can see, west of here and then west of Mountain View corridor. That I believe, Duncan, it's 2027 that'll automatically be annexed into the city.
That's right. Yeah, July 1st, 2027. Especially since we've worked out an agreement. It hasn't been officially approved by both councils yet, but that it will come to West Jordan at that time in 2.5 years.
And that was a result of a legislation that these islands or peninsulas or unincorporated areas that aren't in a township or municipality are required to be annexed into a municipality. And the law read the municipality with the largest population. We approached West Valley City and they had no interest in it. And there's a development called Sky Ranch being built actively right now. And they had no interest in, or little interest, I should say. No is not a good word, but in annexing. And so then the agreement, as Duncan said, was made. So that will be coming back to you for land use and zoning in the future. But what we're talking about is this 160-acre area, on the screen right now. It's about 800 or so residents. You can see it's very, very similar to Ochre Shadows, which is to the south and to the east along 70th South. This is the plat for the Ochre Highlands annexation. And it's very small, but Ochre Highlands was a planned development in Salt Lake County, and it consisted of about 12 phases with the condominiums. And so it was all one master plan development in the county. This is actually the annexation plat. This isn't the individual subdivision plats, but this is what's required to be filed with the county so that they can adjust the boundaries of municipalities. So land use, so what the Planning Commission will be doing is making a recommendation for land use to the city council. And what I have done basically is all of the single family, as you can see in the blue area, is in the medium density range of the general plan. And so my proposal to the commission is to leave all of that medium density. And then the higher density, as you can see to the east and to the very south, is condominium projects or attached housing. And that's also in the high density range of the general plan. And then of course the parks are, there's one 5-acre park in the middle of the development. And then the park at the top, it functions both as a retention basin for stormwater but it is landscaped and it functions as a park. And you might ask, why do we put those on the land use map as parks? Because you never know what could happen in the future. Somebody might, well, we want to get rid of the park and make it into housing or something. And so I'm not saying they can't do that, but they would have to come back through this body and the city council to do that. And then the zoning, it was several different zones. And if I back up, the land use in the county was just one land use and it was residential. And so when I saw that, I thought, well, you have a park that's in a residential zone, then it meets the land use. And so we want to identify the uses they exist, so that something is preserved at least through the land use map. But like I said, the county's land use map was just residential, but the West Jordan will be a little more specific, high density, medium density, and parks. And then it was interesting, the land use map was all residential, but then their zoning was R16, R14, RM. So it had a lot of different zonings in the same project. I believe that our planned community zone fits this development perfectly. It doesn't, and the reason I believe that is because when someone comes in and wants to build an accessory dwelling unit or a garage or something, well, what the planned community doesn't do is it doesn't create a lot of non-conforming issues for residents. And I believe if somebody's being annexed into West Jordan, we want to make it so that at least they can do what their property, what they were guaranteed when they first before they annexed in here. And so I believe the planned community zone is the best zone. The planning commission can certainly disagree with me. But that's what I believe. It matches everything around to the east and to the west, which are also planned community zones. So anyway, do you have any questions for me? So basically what you're doing is recommending the land use in a zone to the city council, because that has to take place before it's annexed, right, Duncan, by state law, so.
Right, yeah, so far the council formally accepted the petition, but they won't act on it until another couple of weeks at one of their new meetings. And if they approve it at that meeting, then they'll also at the same meeting act on your recommendation on the zoning, so.
Do you have any questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the planned community zone, would that allow them to do ADUs if they want to?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, and then kind of just more for my general knowledge and benefits. So when we annex this property in, does that mean that we take ownership of the water facilities and things that are already there?
Generally it would, but in this case, the water and sewer are serviced by Kearns Improvement District.
Okay,
So that would remain. I don't know, Duncan, how the interlocal agreements, or if they just continue servicing those projects. I know I worked in another municipality where people all over the city were billed 5 different water servicers or 4 different water servicers. And so, but people will get their water bill from Kearns Improvement. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Duncan, but I think the garbage is already some kind of interlocal agreement with
Yeah,
Salt Lake
for
County.
all or most of it there's a local district, special district that handles the solid waste, the garbage. So that will continue to handle that service. As Larry mentioned, the Kearns Improvement District will continue to handle the water and sewer. The main services the city would then take over from the county and or other districts would be like police, fire, parks, streetlights, streets, some of those types of things. So,
Yeah.
but generally speaking, districts that are already handling will continue to handle those services. So,
are any of these streets private or are they public streets?
yes, my understanding is some of these are private streets, right, Larry?
Yeah, there's some private streets, particularly in the
We'll keep
the
doing it.
condominium, the multifamily developments to the south and to the east in the high density.
So we take over snow removal as well on the public streets?
Do we take over snow removal, Nate? Do you know? Yeah, Nate would
For
assume.
the
that
public
we do.
streets, yes.
We don't do snow removal on private streets.
Yeah.
So it would just be in Oak or Shadows, which is just to the south, is similar to this development, so.
And if everything moved forward and if the Lieutenant Governor's office approves the annexation, assuming the council approves of it and sends it to the state, then if the Lieutenant Governor's office approves it by April 30th, then they would officially become a part of the city on July 1st. So
Would we get the tax base for the entirety of 2025 or only for half a year?
well, there's a lot of nuances there, but it at least starts the process of there's a delay in when taxes are collected and so forth. But officially they count as part of the city on July 1st. So is probably the best way to phrase it. And the calculations are that their total tax rate for all of their service entities will be significantly less overall than they currently are once they're in the city. So at least by the calculations that the city has done, those residents will pay less overall property tax.
Any other questions? I assume on those private roads and stuff, that's done by the HOA.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And then they'll also, any of these little green areas, they'll, they'll have to be maintained by the HOA. The only parks that our Parks Department will maintain is the 5 acre and the detention pond. So,
So that's going to be deeded to the city then when it gets annexed, or
but
it's going to get deeded over to the
it's
city?
already dedicated to Salt
already
Lake
dedicated,
County, and
okay.
so when we take it over, it'll be in West Jordan's name, so.
So right now, Salt Lake County Parks and Recs
Yes.
taking care of it,
Mhm.
okay?
And probably to add something to my last comment, typically most property taxes are assessed on January 1st. So at least starting January 1st, 2026, then the city would receive all the revenue.
Any other questions?
Not on the project, but on the motion, do you make both motions at the same time, or do you do one motion and vote and then the second motion and vote?
Separate motions.
Separate motion and vote.
Usually we'll go through the process of doing the one first motion, complete it, and then do the second motion after that. Any other questions? Okay, we've got a few minutes, then we'll go ahead and adjourn till 6 o'clock.
That's how it is, but you keep growing.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start. Welcome, everybody, to West Jordan's Planning Commission meeting, February 4th, 2025. All commissioners are present, and we will go ahead and get started with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Duncan Murray is going to lead us.
If everyone could please rise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance along with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Duncan. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from last meeting on January 21st. Commissioner Allen,
I motion to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Roberts.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Next is a public hearing with final action by the Planning Commission. It's the Wasatch Electric 9,000 South, 6,800 West preliminary site plan and preliminary major subdivision. Ben Seastrand, if you'd come up and speak.
Good evening. I am not Ben Seastrand. My name is Cole Peterson. I work with Ben at the Gardner Company. We figured we'd give you guys a night off from Ben tonight. So, yeah, but grateful to be here. Thank you again for all your help to the commission to this point with this Wasatch Electric project. We are here for the site plan and subdivision, which as we know, it's for the 160,000 square foot building going in right off of the newly constructed 90th South. And yeah, we've been making some great progress. The staff has been fantastic to work with. I mean, this whole process, they've really done so much to kind of help get us to this point. So we're very appreciative. The tenant is very excited. We met with them this last week and they're excited to see us break ground soon, hopefully. And yeah, but again, here for any questions that you may have or to be able to address any concerns that any commissioner may have.
Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Allen?
Can you talk to us just a little bit about the building? What's obviously Wasatch Electric headquarters, but how many people we're talking, offices, what's going to be run out of there?
Yeah, so it's, like I said, it's 160,000 square feet with about a 40,000 square foot office component. I'm trying to remember the exact number of employees. I think they're planning on having in close to 100, I think. We can get back to you on that, but they're bringing their whole staff in into the new headquarters, and yeah, it's going to be multi-level, with mezzanine on top. So the office component, kind of more on that second level. You walk in to the reception kind of lobby area, you go up, and that's where majority of their offices will be. They'll have, conference rooms and a break room on the ground level. And then, yeah, the truck shop with all that industrial space that'll make up the rest of the building.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll call you up if we have any more questions.
Great, thank you.
Tater?
Great, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Cole. So actually just wanted to kind of make one slight correction. We're looking at between 400 and 500 people according to them last time we talked to them. So it's going to be quite a bit more than the 100. Maybe 100 is the first phase. But it's quite a large project with a lot of employees. Now it's part of the reason why this has been such a economic development priority. You guys are probably very familiar with this. It was here before you last time. Really nothing has changed except for the rezone and MDP have been cemented. We've seen the site plan, the location, concept, and elevations at both Planning Commission and DRC. The zoning is now Southwest Quadrant mixed use, and it meets the future land use designation. With that, staff's happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for staff? Okay, this has been noticed as a public hearing. So if you wish to speak on this matter, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak. If you are online on Zoom, you can raise your hand. Or if you're on the phone, you can unmute yourself or raise your hand by *9. Okay, seeing none, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Any comments from the commission or motions? Commissioner Hatch.
I'll go ahead and make a motion. I move that the planning commission approve a 2-lot and 1 parcel preliminary major subdivision for Wasatch Electric located at 90th South, 6800 West, subject to all requirements of approval.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, carries 7-0.
I move that the planning commission approve a preliminary site plan for Wasatch Electric located at approximately 9128 South, 6700 West, subject to all requirements of approval.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, carries 7-0. We'll move on now to the public hearing with the Planning Commission recommendation to the City Council for final action. This is for the Ochre Highlands, approximately 5900 west to 6400 west and 6600 south to 7000 south, annexation of approximately 160.5 acres, assigning a future land use map, designation from the Salt Lake County, designation of residential to West Jordan land use, designation of medium density residential, high density residential, and parks and open land. And from the Salt Lake County zoning designation of RM-ZC, multiple family zoning conditions, and R16/ZC residential single family dwelling zoning conditions to the West Jordan zoning map designation PC planned community zone of the West Jordan. Larry.
So the city council has accepted the annexation petition for this area, and as it said in the agenda items, it's 160 acres, just a little hair over 160 acres in size. And this area is east of Mountain View Corridor and west of the power corridor, as you see on the aerial image there, that kind of blank area, that's where the power poles run. And directly north of the city, some portions are north of 70th South and some are a little more into Ochre shadows, but they're north of the city. This area is a tip. The city agreed that if the petitions came in, that they would annex. The agreement was made with Salt Lake County several years ago when we annexed the portion of Wood Ranch or the Glenwood property way to the west on the west side of Bacchus Highway. The area is entirely built out. All the single family and condominiums have been built for several years. There's no developable land in this annexation area. The open areas you see are all slated to be parks, and they will remain parks in West Jordan City. This is the plat that will be recorded with the county if the annexation is approved. And as you can see, it consists of several phases of the Ochre Highlands master plan development that was done in Salt Lake County. And it's a mixture of single family condominiums, some multifamily parks. There's a church in there and a portion of a church property that's actually in West Valley City. And so that way West Jordan will have a clean line. We will we will border West Valley City in this area, and then as we go a little farther east, it'll be Taylorsville. So the land use that I have put on here that I recommend that the planning commission propose to the city council is, first of all, for all of the single family homes, medium density residential. And that meets the density range in the general plan. The medium density does. It's all single family in that range. The high density residential meets the density range of the general plan, and the high densities designated by the orange color on here, and the blue is the medium density. And then in Salt Lake County, it just had the entire area as residential, but we're also recommending that the park areas, both the 5-acre park in the middle of the development and the retention pond to the very northeast, be designated as parks. And the only reason I don't think this would ever happen is if it was on the land use map as residential, then maybe sometime in the future, someone could say, well, it says residential, so we can get rid of the park and development. We don't want to do that because the residents have come to rely on these parks, and I think it needs to remain as what they were bargained for when they purchased. The zoning, as you read in the agenda, was R16 RM. The RM was a residential multifamily in the zone, which covered the very east, the townhome type things there to the very east, and then the condos to the very south. The single family homes surrounding the park were all R16 in the county. This was a planned residential development in Salt Lake County called Oker Highlands. It consisted of, I believe, 10 or 12 phases with the condominium project. So it was a planned development. The property to the very south in West Jordan City, Oker Shadows, was a planned development. And so my recommendation to the council is that we place the zoning on here as planned community. And what that does is, to me, that lessens the non-conforming issues that will arise, because if we really don't have zones that match exactly with the county, the planned community zone does that very well. So if somebody wants to build an ADU, keep an ADU, add a accessory shed to their property, they're very, very unlikely to run into a non-conforming issue that will prohibit that. And with that, staff recommends that you send a positive recommendation to the city council for both the land use map designation and the zoning. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for staff? Okay, this has been noticed as a public hearing. So if you wish to speak on this matter, you'll be given 3 minutes. Come approach and just state your name.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners, staff, members of the committee. My name is Brandy Franson, and I am here as an original petitioner and a part of our neighborhood petitioning group. If you've been around, I've been a member of this neighborhood for 21 years, and we've been working on this annexation for 20 of those. So I know you are all too young, but if you've been around, maybe you've heard of Nicole Coombs. She couldn't be here today, so I'm speaking on behalf of her in our petition group. Speaking in support of recommendation of this annexation. Just to put into context, we have been working on this for 20 years. When we got the approval from the city to begin collecting signatures, we started that on Halloween night, October 31st, and we're able to get at least 58% or more less than 30 days later. So I think that shows the support of our neighborhood with this annexation. And with that, I just want to thank the attorney's office here at West Jordan and the recorder's office, who have been instrumental in recording and validating those petitions. Again, just thank you for your time and your consideration of this recommendation.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody online? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring back to the commission for comment and or motions. Commissioner Anderson,
I'm ready to make a motion.
okay,
All right.
you gotta love Siri.
Yeah. So based on the information and criteria set forth in the staff report and upon the evidence and explanations received today, I move that the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for this application.
Okay, Commissioner Gonzalez. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, carries unanimously, 7.
And for the second motion, based on the information and criteria set forth in the staff report and upon the evidence and explanations received today, I move that the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for this application on the zoning map designation.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, carries unanimously, 7-0. And that will conclude today's meeting. And I will go ahead and make a motion that we'll dismiss since nobody else wants to.
Used to you doing it.
I'll have to try and